Welcome to part 2 of Shipping 101, our 3-part tutorial to guarantee your success at IMTS 2016 in moving everything in and out. We're going to look in detail right now about how your trucking company is going to get to Chicago. And you should show this video to your selected carrier because things have changed in the last couple of years down in Chicago. We're going to ride down to the marshaling yard, we're going to look at the routes, we're going to show how you get in, and we're going to walk right through the procedures. So, let's get on board.
Welcome to the McCormick Place Marshaling Yard. I'm Tom Gilmore Jr. Joining me is Bill Swain, Senior Operations Manager here at GS Chicago. Now we have declared martial law in the marshaling yard. There are some new rules and regulations, so please pay close attention to the information we're about to give you. Now as your truck enters the marshaling yard through this gate, they'll have to stop at the shack and pay a $23 parking fee charged here by the building.
I just want to make everybody know that the fee is a fee charged by McCormick Place and standard parking. It's not a GS fee. You still need to make sure that your carrier understands that there's a fee coming into the yard. We don't have any issues of slowing up them checking in. They need to know that there's a fee. The fee covers a 24-hour period from them coming in the yard. Once they come through the gate, they'll be met by a traffic man. The traffic man will guide them to the on-site scales that they have to be weighed at. Once they're done scaling, they'll be brought to a spotting location and then they'll be guided into the marshaling office. One thing I want to make very clear is you need to let your drivers know they need to come all the way into the marshaling yard to make this process occur. They can't stop on the access road. The access road is very narrow and cannot hold a lot of trucks. So we need them to get all the way into the yard so we can spot them accordingly.
As always, if you have any questions through this whole process, you can always contact the IMTS call center here in Chicago. Now why don't we meet Dave over at the scale.
Here we are at the scales. Every carrier must go on the scale. Prior to coming on the scale, you will receive direction from our traffic guide to the scale. Before every show, the scale is certified by a certified weight company to certify that the scale is accurate.
Now, even if you're one of the larger trucks, a lowboy or a triple axle with some of the bigger machinery, we will be providing a low-profile scale so that your truck will be able to be scaled correctly. Again, let me reiterate, every truck at IMTS 2016 needs to be scaled at this marshaling yard. So now let's go into the GES marshaling yard office and get our paperwork. Let's quickly recap how we got to this point. So your carrier has come through the marshaling yard, he has checked in at the shack, paid his $23 fee, spoken with our traffic guys and gotten his parking spot, and then gotten his scale ticket out in our scale. So now he's to come here, the GES marshaling yard office. It is here that he will get the correct paperwork that will get him up to the floor to get your freight unloaded. Bill, you want to go over how this works?
Yeah, it's really important that the carrier knows who they're delivering for. What I mean by that is they need to know what company, what booth, and ideally a contact name and a phone number for somebody on the floor. If there's any issues, we can call that person from the yard and solve any issues right there. It makes for a smoother process. As long as the carrier has that information, it's a very quick process to go through. The driver will check in, provide that information to the person at the desk. That person will provide that driver with some documentation. 3 pieces of documentation: a receiving report, a hard card, and most importantly, a driver number. At this point, the driver number becomes how we identify that driver. From this point on, everybody will identify that driver with that number. A piece of paper will look like this. The driver, it's very important that the driver, once they leave here, displays this in their windshield so a person from outside the vehicle can see it. Our traffic guides will be looking for those drivers from time to time, and the yard may be calling that driver based on this number.
Going back to what we were talking about earlier with the target freight questionnaire, please make sure that you give your carrier that information, because if they're here at this office trying to check in on what is not your target date or time, they will not be allowed to check in. So again, it's very important you get that piece of information to your carrier. And please make sure your carrier follows every instruction given to them by this office and by our traffic men, because it is only through this process that your freight is getting up to those floors to be unloaded for your inbound.
So, this concludes our visit to the IMTS McCormick Place marshaling yard. We're going to continue shortly by going from this marshaling yard up to the show floor at McCormick Place, all of the buildings. This is your goal. Get into the marshaling yard quickly, get out of the marshaling yard quickly. See you upstairs.